The man everyone called Crazy Frank had been Murphy's Bar's joke for 10 years. His war stories were so brutal they seemed unbelievable, his drinking so heavy that respect was impossible. But when 16-year-old Sarah mysteriously vanished, the town was about to discover why Special Forces legends never truly retire. Because those stories were never just stories. The retired soldier who'd been drinking at the same bar for 10 years had suddenly become someone different. Frank had stories that no one had ever taken seriously. And today, something would happen in Millbrook that would reveal who Frank really was. Welcome to Hidden Legends. Tell me in the comments which city you're watching from, because when you learn this man's true identity, you'll understand why he'd been sitting in the same bar for 10 years and why he told these stories. If you believe stories like this need to be told, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Frank Morrison, 58 years old. He'd been sitting in the same corner of Murphy's Bar for 10 years, 3 months, and 26 days. Every night he told the same stories, drank the same whiskey, bothered everyone. The crazy retired soldier. But Frank wasn't there by accident. That bar was the safest place in town. Everyone knew him, no one took him seriously. The perfect observation point. Because Frank Morrison wasn't just a drunk ex-soldier. He had served 25 years in Army Special Forces as a hostage rescue specialist. That Friday evening was like any other. Frank had arrived at the bar at 6 p.m., sat in his corner, ordered his whiskey. Same war stories, same attitudes, same reactions. Customers rolled their eyes. Bartender Tom smiled. Everyone said, "Crazy Frank's at it again." But when Tom's phone rang at 10:30 p.m., everything changed. Because the caller was Tom's ex-wife, and their 16-year-old daughter Sarah hadn't come home. Frank's presence in this town was no coincidence. When Tom hung up the phone, his face had gone pale. "Sarah's missing. No word for 6 hours." Bar customers started offering worried advice. Call the police, check with her friends, call the hospitals. But Frank got up from his corner and approached Tom. His voice had changed. He was no longer the drunk ex-soldier. "Tom, where was Sarah last seen?" Tom was surprised. Frank had never spoken like this. This was a serious, commanding voice. "Downtown at the mall, after she separated from her friends." Frank nodded. "How old?" 16. Frank's face hardened. 25 years of experience was kicking in. Because he was no longer drunk Frank. He was Staff Sergeant Morrison, and he had 12 hours to rescue Sarah. Frank Morrison had joined the Army in 1985, 18 years old, small-town kid with big dreams. Special Forces selection was the world's toughest military test. Frank had successfully passed through a process where only 30 out of 2,000 applicants made it. Green Berets, the Army's most elite unit. Soldiers spoken of only in legends. His first assignment was in Central America in 1987, rescuing diplomats kidnapped by drug cartels. Frank's specialty was hostage rescue operations, maximum success with minimum casualties. Hostage operations were very different. Every second mattered, every move calculated, every decision a matter of life and death. His second assignment was in Somalia in 1993, Mogadishu operation to rescue aid workers who had been kidnapped. Urban warfare, very dangerous. But Frank's real skill was psychological profiling, analyzing kidnappers, understanding their motivations, finding their weaknesses. His third assignment was in the Balkans for peacekeeping operations, civilians kidnapped by war criminals, ethnic cleansing victims, mass kidnappings. Frank had conducted 147 successful hostage rescue operations over 25 years. 98% success rate, never lost a hostage. Frank had retired in 2010, 25 years of operations, countless hostage rescues, severe PTSD. Adjusting to civilian life was very difficult, constantly searching for threats, evaluating every situation tactically. Alcohol problems, social isolation, depression. Veteran support wasn't adequate. When he moved to Millbrook, he wanted to disappear in the small town. No one knew him, didn't know his past. When he started drinking at Murphy's Bar, people tolerated him. Friendly atmosphere, no questions asked. But starting to tell war stories was a trauma response, part of PTSD therapy. He told real stories, but no one believed them. Too extreme, too unbelievable. For 10 years he'd been sitting in the same corner, telling the same stories. Everyone thought he was Crazy Frank. People thought he was a harmless drunk veteran. But he was actually the most dangerous protective asset. And today, those protective skills would save a life. When Frank approached Tom, the bar had gone silent. Everyone saw this different Frank. "Tom, do you know Sarah's activities in the last 24 hours? Tom was confused. "What do you mean, Frank? Who did she meet? Where did she go? Did she do anything different from her normal routine?" Frank's questions were professional level, like a police detective. "Frank, why are you asking these questions?" Tom wondered. Frank hesitated. Was it time to reveal the identity he'd hidden for 10 years? "Because I think Sarah has been kidnapped, and I'm a hostage rescue specialist." Everyone in the bar froze. What was Crazy Frank saying? "Frank, you're drunk. There are police for this." "Police will wait 48 hours. Sarah doesn't have 48 hours. Frank pulled out his old military ID from his pocket. Faded, worn. "Staff Sergeant Frank Morrison, Army Special Forces, 25 years active duty." Tom looked at the ID. The photo showed young Frank with a serious military expression. Is this real?" "Very real, and Sarah's life is in danger." Frank began mental calculations. 25 years of experience kicked in. "How long has Sarah been missing?" 6 hours. "Last seen at the mall, after separating from friends." Frank nodded. "The golden hour for kidnapping is 12 hours. After that, the trail goes cold." Tom didn't understand. "What do you mean?" "If not found within the first 12 hours, she gets transferred to another state. Then it becomes impossible." Frank started profiling. "Is Sarah a typical teenager? Rebellious? Naive?" "Very naive. Trusts everyone. Very friendly." "Perfect target." Frank's face had grimmed. "Frank, if you're really an expert, why don't we go to the police?" "Because police follow protocol. I'll rescue Sarah." Frank pulled out his old cell phone, contact list he hadn't used in 10 years. "I'm going to make a few phone calls. Old connections." Frank's first call was to an old Special Forces friend. "Jake, Frank Morrison. No, after 10 years. There's an emergency." Jake was surprised. Frank hadn't made contact since he retired. "Is there human trafficking activity in the local area?" "Frank, why are you asking for this type of intelligence?" "Personal. Very personal." Jake did a database check. "Actually, yes. Increased activity in the I-95 corridor. Mexican cartel connection." "Operation methods?" "Mall recruitment, teenage girls, vulnerability exploitation." Frank's heart sank. Sarah fit the profile exactly. His second call was to an FBI contact. "Carla, Frank Morrison. Yes, retired Frank. I need a favor." "Frank, long time. What do you need?" "Any recent local trafficking ring busts?" Carla hesitated. "Classified, but yes, major operation planned. Why?" "Timing? 48 hours." Frank hung up the phone. Sarah didn't have 48 hours. Tom was waiting anxiously. "Frank, what did you learn?" "Sarah's been caught by a trafficking ring. FBI raid planned in 48 hours. "Then the problem's solved." "No, Tom. In 48 hours, Sarah will be gone. Another state, maybe another country." Frank made his decision. For 25 years, he'd done team operations. This time, solo. "Tom, are there personal items in Sarah's room? Diary, phone charger, anything?" "Yes, why?" "For scent trail and pattern analysis." Tom gave him the keys. "Frank, can you really do this?" Frank was entering his old tactical mindset. "Tom, I rescued 147 hostages in 25 years. Sarah will be the 148th. When Frank left the bar, everyone watched silently. Was Crazy Frank a legend, or still crazy? But there was hope in Tom's eyes. For the first time in 6 hours. When Frank entered Sarah's room, 25 years of training automatically activated. Room scan, personal habits, routine indicators, vulnerability assessment. Sarah's typical teenager room. Pop star posters, makeup, clothes everywhere. But Frank focused on details. Phone charger still plugged in. She didn't plan to stay out. Diary's last entry. Met cute guy at mall. Said he's a talent scout, wants to meet again tomorrow. Frank froze. Classic trafficking recruitment method. Messages on her phone. Hi, Sarah. It's Marcus from Today. Coffee tomorrow at 4. I have an amazing opportunity for you. Frank traced the phone number. Burner phone. Untraceable. But Marcus's approach pattern seemed familiar to Frank. Textbook predator behavior. Frank checked Sarah's social media. Recent photos. Mall selfie. Man partially visible in background. Frank zoomed in on the photo. Middle-aged Hispanic male. Expensive clothes. Calculating eyes. This face matched in Frank's mental database. Cartel recruitment specialist. Frank called Tom. Tom, I know where Sarah is. Really? Where? Warehouse district? Old industrial area? Holding facility? How do you know? Because trafficking rings always use the same pattern. Isolated location, multiple exits, no witnesses. Frank was marking locations on the map. 3 possible warehouses. The plan, I'll do solo reconnaissance. I'll locate Sarah. Frank, should we tell the police? Not yet. I'll call when I confirm. Frank did gear check. Tactical equipment he hadn't used in 10 years. Body armor, communication devices, night vision goggles. Everything had been stored in the garage. As Frank put on his gear, he went back 10 years. Muscle memory kicked in. This was no longer crazy Frank. This was Sergeant Morrison. Frank approached the first warehouse at 21:30. Silent movement, shadow utilization. Building empty, no activity, wrong location. Second warehouse, security cameras, motion sensors. Too sophisticated for small operation. Third warehouse, perfect. Isolated, minimal security, multiple vehicles outside. Frank scanned the building using night vision goggles. Ground floor, armed guards, 2 to 3 visible. Second floor, lights on, movement shadows. Frank mentally constructed the building blueprint, entry points, escape routes, tactical advantages. Phone call to Tom, whisper voice. Found her, third warehouse, Harrison Industrial District. Are you sure? Very sure. Call police, but wait 30 minutes. Why wait? Because I'm going to get Sarah out. Police sirens will panic the traffickers. Tom hesitated. Frank, it's too dangerous. Tom, I'm trained for this, trust me. Frank breached the building perimeter at 2200 hours, 25 years of stealth training. Silent entry through back entrance, observed guard rotation pattern. First floor had 3 armed guards. Casual conversation, not high alert. Frank used shadows to access second floor. Voices in corridor, young girls crying, male voices commanding. Frank's heart sank. Sarah's voice sounded familiar. Room 7. 4 teenage girls, 2 armed guards. Sarah in corner, scared but unharmed. Frank made tactical assessment. 2 guards, confined space, civilian hostages, non-lethal approach required, stealth takedown, silent elimination. Frank approached first guard from behind, chokehold, unconscious in 8 seconds. Second guard on phone, back turned. Frank pressure point strike, immediately unconscious. Girls, don't make a sound, I've come to rescue you. Sarah was surprised when she saw Frank. Aren't you the man from Murphy's bar? Yes, Sarah. Your father sent me. Now follow quietly. Frank showed the girls the emergency exit route. Straight down corridor, back stairs, white truck in parking lot. Other guards? I'll handle them. Just run when I say run. Frank monitored ground floor activity from radio. Guards still unaware. Now, go. Frank escorted the girls, Sarah trembling at the knees but cooperative. As they approached back exit, ground floor guard heard suspicious noise. Someone upstairs, check it out. Frank whispered to girls, run to truck. Hide. Frank went back to handle guards. 3 guards on ground floor cornered Frank. Armed, dangerous, desperate. Who are you? Police. Frank smiled grimly. Retired Army. Special Forces. Guards laughed. Old man gonna take us down. Frank's response wasn't words, but actions. 25 years of combat training compressed into 90 seconds. First guard, disarmament, pressure point strike, down. Second guard, weapon redirect, joint lock, unconscious. Third guard, attempted escape, Frank's tackle, submission hold. 3 minutes, 3 guards neutralized, 0 shots fired. Frank called police from his radio. This is Frank Morrison. I have 4 rescued hostages and 5 detained suspects at Harrison Industrial Warehouse 3. Police arrived 8 minutes later. They were surprised by what they found. "Sir, are you Frank Morrison?" "Yes, retired Special Forces. These are the traffickers." Detective checked Sarah's condition. "You okay, honey?" Sarah nodded, tears in her eyes. "This man saved us." Tom arrived with ambulance, emotional breakdown when he saw Sarah. "Sarah, are you hurt?" "No, Dad. Frank saved me. He's a real hero." Frank quietly debriefed with detectives, professional, technical, no emotion. "How did you locate them?" "Pattern recognition. Trafficking rings use predictable methods." "Your background?" 25 years Army Special Forces, hostage rescue specialist." Detective was amazed. "Why didn't you call us first?" "Time was critical. You would have waited for warrants." The next evening, Frank returned to Murphy's bar. Same corner, same whiskey. But the atmosphere was completely different. Everyone in the bar knew. Frank's war stories were no longer a joke. Every word respected, every detail believed. Tom approached Frank. "Frank, I don't know how to thank you." "No need, Tom. I just did my job." "Your job? You're retired." Frank smiled quietly. "Some jobs never end." Regular customers looked at Frank differently. Hero worship, respect, gratitude. "Frank, are the other stories real?" someone asked. "All real. But the past is past. Sarah's safe, that's what matters." Local newspaper wanted to publish Frank's story. Frank declined. Heroes don't need publicity. They need purpose. Frank's rescue operation transformed the local community. Other veterans started coming to the bar, mutual support, shared experiences. Frank's PTSD symptoms decreased. He'd found purpose, community service. "Maybe my war stories help someone," Frank told Tom. Police department offered Frank a consultant position, missing persons cases. Frank accepted part-time. "Let's not waste the experience." When Sarah went to college, she wrote Frank a thank you letter. "You saved more than my life. You saved my future." Frank framed the letter and hung it in the bar. First personal decoration in 10 years. Frank's story inspired other retired veterans. Murphy's Bar became a veteran hangout. Skills sharing, mutual support, community security volunteer programs started. Experienced veterans protecting neighborhood. Frank retained the Crazy Frank nickname, but the meaning changed. Crazy enough to save lives. Crazy enough to never give up. Local high school invited Frank as guest speaker. "Military training never expires," Frank told students. "Skills transfer to civilian life. Your community always needs protectors. Age doesn't matter. Experience does." Frank still sits in the same corner of Murphy's Bar today, still drinks the same whiskey. But he's no longer Crazy Frank. He's Hero Frank, Legend Frank, the man who saves. People occasionally ask if he regrets leaving the military, if it was worth it. Frank always gives them the same answer. Military service never ends. It just finds new missions. Frank watches the community from the bar mirror. Every evening when he comes here, he knows Sarah is safe, other veterans are supported, the community is protected. 25 years of service continued in civilian life. Different uniform, same mission. Being a Green Beret isn't just military. It's protecting, serving, never giving up. And here, every day, he was protecting civilian lives. He touched the old Special Forces badge in his pocket. He still thinks about the hostages he couldn't save in Afghanistan, but he's grateful for Sarah he could save here. Because real heroes don't retire. They just find new battlefields. Real heroes don't seek fame, don't want recognition, don't expect thanks. They sit in dark corners, tell unlikely stories, and quietly protect the world. Frank Morrison never tried to become famous, never demanded respect. He simply went to the bar every evening, told stories, and was ready when needed. That's ultimate heroism. Hidden readiness, unbelieved capability, instant action. Frank occasionally closes his eyes and sees Sarah's rescued face. Inside, he knows. He prevented tragedy. He saved innocence. And that knowledge is enough. Heroes don't need applause. They need purpose. So have you ever encountered someone like Frank? An underestimated veteran with an extraordinary background? Share your experiences in the comments. Help us recognize hidden protectors around us. Because here at Hidden Legends we know, the greatest heroes are often the most ignored ones. Sometimes they wear uniforms, sometimes civilian clothes, but always, in emergencies, they're there. If this story touched you, like, share, subscribe. Help these powerful stories continue. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, remember, your local bar regular might just be telling stories, or might be a legend waiting for the right moment. That veteran everyone ignores? Could be a harmless drunk, could be your community's guardian angel. You'll never know until you need them.